Imagine a country where you can search all day and never find a single river. Not one. A country that has to make every single drop of its fresh water, pulling it from the sea and magically taking out the salt. But while its land is thirsty for water, it's floating on an ocean of something else. Oil. And beneath the sand, it's sitting on a giant, invisible treasure chest of natural gas. So much that after the giants Russia and Iran, it holds the third biggest treasure chest in the whole world, powering homes and cities across the globe. Its national wealth reserve, its annual government budget, and the prosperity of its citizens are the envy of the world. A land where the poor cannot be found even if you search for them. It's not a fairy tale. The United Nations and the World Bank have actually said it's true. Leaving aside small countries like Monaco, it surpasses all the well-known large countries in the world in terms of per capita income. The glory of its name, the magnitude of its economy, and its influence on world geopolitics is a fact that you hear, read, and see every time you turn on the radio, open a newspaper, or switch on the television. But do not be mistaken to think that she is as large as her name or that her citizens are as numerous as is talked about. This entire nation is smaller than the state of Connecticut. It only has an area of 11,500 square kilometers and just 2.8 million residents. Note that we said residents, not citizens. The number of its citizens is only 12% of the country's total population. In other words, out of 100 people you see on the streets of this country, 88 are immigrants. The number of Indians in the country alone is more than double the number of the country's citizens. If we were to break down the number of its residents by country and rank them, its own citizens would be placed in fourth place. Indians hold the first rank, numbering 700,000. Bangladeshis and Nepalese are given the second and third ranks. From Africa, citizens of Egypt and Sudan live there in large numbers, a country that is a desert in climate, rich in standard of living, small in land area and population, but great in influence. Pack your bags. Stay with us as we journey to Qatar. Qatar is a small country located in the Middle East or West Asia, bordering only Saudi Arabia by land, with the rest of its perimeter surrounded by the sea. It is one of the world's flattest countries with a low elevation above sea level. The entire country's average elevation above sea level is only 28 meters. In Qatar, not only mountains, but also forests, rain and rivers, which we find in abundance in other countries of the world, are rarities. Over 95% of the country is desert, and in the summer, temperatures mostly above 45 degrees Celsius are recorded. Nevertheless, drawing from its overflowing wealth, it hosts its residents and visitors by creating green spaces like Aspire Park outdoors and by installing modern cooling technologies inside its great buildings, malls and stadiums. And get this, you're walking in the scorching heat and suddenly you're in Venice, Italy, with blue water canals and gondola rides? Nope, you're still in Qatar, inside a giant, super cool, air-conditioned shopping center called the Villaggio Mall. It's a must-see. Doha is the capital city of Qatar and holds 80% of the country's residents. It was founded in the 1820s. Today, it is the fastest growing city in the world. It is easily distinguished by its skyscrapers that have sprouted in the middle of the desert. But Doha is not just a city of tall buildings. It has another face. One is called Souk Waqif. It is Doha's ancient market center. It is a marketplace surrounded by fragrant, delightful cafes where clothes, jewelry and antiquities are sold. A place where you can find anything you are looking for. For Qataris, it is a place that reminds them of their yesterday, reconciles them with their tomorrow and tells them of their identity, combining their memories and their history. The main gateway to Qatar is one. It is called Hamad International Airport. Since we are in Qatar, do not be surprised if we repeatedly mention international standards. According to the Skytrax airport rankings, this one has also been honored as the world's best airport. Indeed, it deserves it. This is not the usual type of airport where you wait, board, for your departure time to board the plane. Before you can finish calling it modern, you find it to be natural. In a green area filled with a forest. Before you have had your fill of seeing banana trees and palm trees, you will find works of art made by internationally renowned painters and sculptors. Its cleanliness makes it seem as if no foot has ever stepped on it. But it is indeed very busy. It handles 250,000 flights per year and 700 per day. If we look at it in terms of people, it handled 52 million travelers in 2024 alone. It covers 22 square kilometers. It cannot be traversed on foot, so it has its own internal train. Qatar is also the owner of an airline that has managed to control the world's aviation industry in a short period of time. It is called Qatar Airways. As its name is mentioned frequently, you might think it is old. But compared to other airlines, it is at a young age, just a 32-year-old youth. It started its service in 1993 with 2 Airbus airplanes. Today, it has become a renowned airline connecting 6 continents with 230 airplanes, 198 destinations, and 48,000 employees. You must have heard how it recently stunned the world by placing an order with the Boeing company to purchase 210 aircraft worth a total of $96 billion. Qatar is a country that can give a tempting gift that the president of our Earth's superpower, the USA, cannot refuse. Saying, "When I saw the Air Force One special jet that the American president uses for travel, it looked old to me and is not befitting of my friend's honor." She presented the Boeing 747 special jet, known as the Flying Palace and worth $400 million, as a gift. And the gift became the largest and most expensive gift received by a president from a foreign government in American history, and the president could not refuse. When asked why, he said, "One would have to be a fool to refuse such a gift." Qatar is a country that is called rich even in front of the president of the superpower nation, America. The extent of its wealth is not limited to its own country. The governmental Qatar Investment Authority, for example, has assets worth $530 billion internationally. Let us tell you about a few of the assets managed under it that the world clearly knows. In England, the Qatari royal family has more wealth than the British royal family. If you are a resident of London, you know the Shard, the tallest building in Western Europe. Its ownership belongs to the Qatari government. Right there in London, Count Harrods is the second. The Qatari government has a 20% stake in the famous Heathrow International Airport. They haven't left Barclays Bank alone either. They have bought a 12.7% share there too. Going into Germany, they have bought 17% of the veteran and wealthy car manufacturer Volkswagen and a 10% share of Porsche. You know the famous French football club Paris Saint-Germain, for which Lionel Messi played. According to a 2025 report, after Real Madrid and Manchester City, it is the world's third richest football club. Its ownership belongs to the Qatari government. If you come to America, New York's Plaza Hotel and Texas' Golden Pass LNG are Qatari. A few decades ago, however, things in Qatar were not like this. Before the 1950s, Qataris were a people scorched by the fire of poverty in the middle of the desert, who made a living by risking their lives diving into the sea to extract pearls. Fishing and herding camels and goats were also their sources of additional income. The fact that 90% of the country's borders with the sea, however, had long tied its destiny to the pearl trade. In the 1920s, however, something unexpected happened. The Japanese, with the help of man-made technology, began to mass-produce cultured pearls and took control of the world's pearl market by selling them at a cheap price. Because of this, Qatar's pearls lost their demand. As a result, the 1920s and 1930s were a time when life was particularly difficult for the Qataris, who were estimated to be 25,000 at the time. After the Qataris had passed through two unforgettable decades of hardship in their history, in 1939, the oil reserve that would change Qatar's history forever began to bubble up from under its land. But as cruel fate would have it, the poor and the market did not meet. In the same year the oil emerged from its land, 1939, the Second World War broke out. The work of extracting the oil was delayed until the 1950s. After the war ended and the world came to its senses and thought about extracting and using its resources, the first place it looked to was Qatar. Qatar, which was under British colonial rule at the time, began to bid farewell to poverty in the 1950s by extracting and selling oil. In 1971, Qatar gained independence from British rule. Its citizens did not wait for ages to see an economic revolution. In 1973, the annual per capita income of Qataris skyrocketed to $1,200. Remember that before oil, this number was $35. Without wasting time, their government began to provide its citizens with schools, health institutions, roads, and other infrastructure for daily use. For thousands of years, these majestic birds were essential hunting partners for the Bedouin people in the desert. Today, life is much easier, but falcons are still treated like royalty. These aren't just pets, they're superstars. They have their own passports to travel the world. They get their own seats on airplanes, sometimes even in first class. And if a falcon gets sick, it goes to a state-of-the-art falcon hospital, a luxury medical center just for birds with surgery rooms, x-rays, and expert doctors. They treat over 40,000 falcons a year. There's even a special market just for falcons, where prize bird can sell for thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Foreign nationals come to Qatar for two fundamental reasons. The first is in search of high salaries, and the second is that it is a tax-free country. The salary you negotiate with your employer and have written on your payroll is yours alone. Of course, the country's weather and the difference in working days might cause you discomfort, at least until you get used to it. For example, in Qatar, the work week starts on Sunday. The last working day then ends on Thursday. Friday and Saturday are considered rest days. Friday, as in any Muslim country, is a religious day in Qatar, the Great Zamua. In Qatar, if you work more than 8 hours a day, you can ask for overtime pay. The payment is 125% of your salary. We are talking about permanent company or government employees who are hired for their professions. When working in the country, you have a duty to respect the religious and cultural values of the people. Although Qatar is an Arabic-speaking country, if you are employed by large corporations, English is widely spoken in the workplaces. You should also note that the country was a British colony. To show its identity to those who do not know who Qatar is, it uses football, for which the world is madly in love, as a primary tool. Do not forget that it hosted the 2022 World Cup, the pinnacle of all football competitions. They spent over $220 billion to host the planet's biggest party, building amazing stadiums, a futuristic metro system with driverless trains, and entire new cities. It put Qatar on the map like never before. Qatar is a country that has surpassed the rest of the world in infrastructure construction. In other countries, you may have visited many cities that have schools. But in Qatar, education itself has a city. They call it Qatar Education City. It is located near Doha. Founded in 1997 and beginning service in 2003, Education City spans 12 square kilometers. Most of the world's renowned universities have a branch here. The establishment of the city is part of Vision 2030, aimed at providing higher education, research, and community development services so that Qatar has a knowledge-based economy. Qatar provides free medical services to its citizens. Like most countries in the world, public and private health insurance services are available in Qatar. The country's public health institutions are divided into two levels. It has 9 public hospitals controlled by the Hamad Medical Corporation and 27 local health centers managed under the Primary Health Care Corporation. Foreign nationals employed in Qatar must obtain medical insurance through their employers. Qatar also helps its citizens to become homeowners. A Qatari who is 22 years old and married can go to the government and say, "I want to build a house." When the government confirms that there is no house registered in his name, it provides a plot of land to build a house and an interest-free loan of 1.2 million Qatari riyals from the Qatar Development Bank to be paid back over 35 years. The land given to citizens for home construction has water, electricity, and road infrastructure installed at government expense. If you are unmarried, the age ceiling for requesting land and a loan is higher than this. Qatar is a country disliked by many in the Arab world. Its support for Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood during the Arab Spring has caused it to be viewed with a critical eye by Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt's LCC, who overthrew Mohamed Morsi to seize power. Its sharing of a gas extraction site and its economic cooperation with Iran, as well as its signing of a military and economic agreement with Turkey, have not been viewed favorably in the Arab world. Pushing against the Arab League, which is dominated by Egypt and Saudi Arabia, it's taking on a mediating role in issues including the Lebanese conflict between the Taliban and the United States and between Hamas and Israel, and its promotion of its own distinct position in the conflicts in Yemen and Libya, have not endeared it to the Arab nations. Al Jazeera, the Qatari state media outlet based in Doha that broadcasts internationally, has also made enemies for it in the Arab world under the accusation that it interferes in the internal affairs of countries. Their animosity escalated, and in 2017, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain imposed what could be called heavy sanctions on Qatar. The sanctions went as far as prohibiting it from using their air, sea, and land territories. Although the sanctions were lifted 4 years later, in 2021, the friction has not disappeared to this day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We end our tour for today here. Thank you for staying with us.